Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to the channel and to another episode of F1 Fantasy Weekly. Last week, we were back. Back after an extended winter break because, well, there's just really nothing to talk about in F1 Fantasy when there's not Formula 1 on. I mean,
there's only so much.
There is, with Formula 1, well, you know, it is trying with a 23 race calendar to make itself most of the year. So you guys don't have to worry about it too much. You're allowed a little break from me and Stephen. But yeah, basically we were back. We were reacting to the prices of the drivers and the team. So if you haven't already, checked that out. I'll leave a link to that one in the description down below. But today, there were some people there who weren't sure about the game. And, you know, it's good at the start of every year to kind of give a refresher. There'll be obviously those regulars who watch us. You know exactly what F1 Fantasy is. But here today, we're explaining the game for those people who have maybe played it, don't really understand it, or are just completely new to it. We're going to try and do it in a fairly concise way, which obviously with me and my waffle is incredible.
It's going to be difficult.
It's going to be difficult, but we're explaining it. So I'll start off with how I always start off the usual F1 fantasies during the season is F1 Fantasy. It is the game where you get 100 million budget. You get to select 5 drivers, 1 constructor from that budget, and their points collated score you your points over the race weekend. You score points in qualifying and in the race. Stephen's going to explain that a little bit more detailed when he covers the points from there in the future. But yes, you get to compete against your friends and the world. And obviously we had D. Phillips in the league last year, won the highly prestigious F1 Fanatics League. For now, but he also won the overall championship, which means that he gets a paddock pass to a Grand Prix. So there is a very cool prize for winning overall. Very difficult to win overall, but not impossible. That goes from there. And if you, I think, top 10, you get copies of the game, don't you? And
yeah, F1 TV.
I think you get grandstand tickets for P2, don't you? And yeah, like you said, F1 TV is a prize as well. So good from that. And if you win the F1 Fanatics League, you get a team top of your choice at the end of the season. That hopefully should be with D. Phillips soon because when we wanted to order it, it wasn't in stock because it was end of season sale. God, what a kind of collide in that. But we will get it to you by the start of the next following season. That is a F1 Fanatics guarantee / don't hold us to that if it doesn't.
Cut it out.
Cut. But yeah, basically that is the game in essence. You pick the 5 teams, the 5 drivers, you pick the 1 constructor, and with this year obviously reacting to the points last year, with Mercedes being so heavy as a constructor, it is going to mean, I think, this year overall we're going to see so much variety to F1 teams over fantasy teams over the course of the season. It makes it pretty exciting.
It does indeed.
But we're going to hand over to Stephen to the points. So you've picked your 5 drivers, you've picked your 1 constructor out of your 100 mil budget. How are they going to score you points over the course of a race weekend?
Well, let me tell you how they're going to score points. This is going to be a long one, but we're going to get through it together. Okay? Together. There's a lot of points, okay?
Breathe.
So it all starts on qualifying. That's when your teams are locked in. Okay, so they finish...
Locked in how long before qualifying?
I think dead on qualifying.
Is it dead on qualifying now?
I'm pretty sure it's dead on qualifying.
I'm pretty sure it used to be like the half hour before or something.
Maybe it's half hour before.
Basically, organise your team at the end of FP3 at the very latest.
Give an hour.
Yeah, give at least an hour. Good start.
So... If they go out in Q1, 1 point. Q2, 2 points. Q3, 3 points. Then you have the teammate points. Qualify ahead of your teammate, you get a bonus 2 points. And if you did not qualify at all, so crash out before you do set any kind of lap time, minus 5 points. And if you get disqualified from qualifying, which I don't think has ever happened so far, is minus 10 points whilst F1 Fantasy's been around.
Yeah. But they've planned for that situation, just in case.
And then for those that get into Q3, you also get an additional bonus point depending on where you finish in the top 10 shootout. So pole gets you 10 points, second place 9 points, third place 8 points, and it goes all the way down to 1 point in 10th. I'm not going to run through them all because I'm sure everyone here can count.
But there are counting tutorials available out there if you struggle.
Yes, indeed. So that's qualifying. I'm sure you'll put some helpful tips on screen, maybe. Just to all of this can be found on the website. On to the race. So if you finish the race, 1 point in the bag. Obviously for some that is a struggle, but for those who do finish, 1 point in the bag. If you finish a race and you've gained a position, you get 2 points. And you also get 2 points for every position gained. So if you start 10th and you finish 5th, you get a bonus 10 points for overtakes. If you finish ahead of your teammate, bonus 3 points. If you have fastest lap, 5 points. Big points there. But here we go on to the minus points. If you start within the top 10 but lose a position, minus 2 for every position lost. So again, if you start 10th and you finish 15th, that's minus 10 points. Bam, gutted. Maximum of 10 points. If you started outside the top 10 though, and you lose positions, minus 1. They feel a bit of sympathy for you. It's not as drastic. If you're not classified during the race, so you don't finish, minus 15. And if you get disqualified, minus 20. Bam. You with it still?
I'm here. I am with it. Are you with it? Stay with it. We're explaining for you.
We're nearly there. We're on to the final scorings.
And
that's basically the championship point scorers. So first place gets 25 points, bonus points in fantasy. Second place 18, third 15. It's the exact same as how the drivers are actually awarded championship points. You get those points in fantasy points. So yeah, that is it. And then, no, not it. We obviously have the final, the streaks that you can time turbo and mega drivers, which we'll come on to get maximize the point scoring potential. So that is a streaks. So a driver qualifying streak. So when a driver qualifies in the top 10, 5 races in a row, and at the 5th race, they'll get a bonus 5 points. So you're thinking Mercedes, Red Bulls, those kind of guys. Driver, if race streak is when a driver finishes in the top 10 for 5 races in a row. Similar to qualifying, but they get 10 points bonus there. Slightly more difficult because obviously retirement's in the race. Then when it comes to the teams, constructors that both drivers qualify in the top 10 for 3 races in a row, bonus 5 points. And then both drivers finish the race in the top 10 for 3 races in a row. That gets you bonus 10 points.
Again, you're looking at the Red Bull Mercedes.
Yes.
So that is the points.
Yep.
So that means we now move on to the 3 special features that you can do to enhance or better those points from there, which is the wild card, the new feature for the 2020 F1 Fantasy season, which was Mega Driver, and the Turbo Driver. The Turbo Driver is the easiest one here. It can be applied to any driver who is under the cost of 20 million, which when last week we were talking about Sergio Perez, makes him a really interesting bet because he drives for one of, as of 2020, one of the top 2 teams. You can turbo his points, and if you back Sergio Perez, that he's regularly going to be competing for either P4 or P3 or even higher on some days, then obviously you're going to have a guy who's going to get massive points, because generally those are the kind of highest scoring points in there. You're not going to get many overtake points, but just from qualifying in those positions and finishing there anyway, you score fairly highly in the kind of high 28s to 30s generally is the go from there. So if you're then doubling that every week, you're looking at 60 points guaranteed every week, which for some people is a constructor point, who scores that highly. So turbo drive is important, but like I said, anyone under 20. So the Daniel Ricciardos are coming into place, the Sebastian Vettels, Fernando Alonso's, Stephen talking about streaks. Obviously, when you watch us during the channel, last year was a very cool feature. When you click on the driver, they keep a clear track of the streaks as well, where they have like a dash system. They kind of block out the colour. So when 4 colours are blocked out, that means that weekend there is a possibility of them securing the 5th streak in terms of that. And then obviously after it gets a streak, or if it loses a streak, it resets back to 0. But yeah, we'll obviously be looking out for those through the season for race and qualifying streaks, because then drivers who you think may do well at a track also get a streak on that track. And then if you then turbo it, there were some great ones like Daniel Ricciardo was a massive turbo, I believe. I think, was it Spa, somewhere like that, or Nürburgring? It was somewhere where he got his podium.
Yes.
For that aspect. So I think he scored 50 points. Then you could turbo him, so you got 100 points for him.
Yes.
Overall.
He was
so
mega.
He was almost like a mega driver. Which, brings us on to the new feature last year, which was a very good one. So the turbo driver is something you have every week, and you can change every week, free of cost. There is no cost to it. It's just whoever you pick for your drivers under 20 million, who is going to be, who you think is going to score within some of the budgets, probably the only driver you think is probably going to score in that aspect. Mega Driver and Wildcard is something that you get 1 per half a season. So for the first half of the season, you get 1 Wildcard and 1 Mega Driver to use, and then the halfway point through the summer break going into, actually I believe Zandvoort starts it, doesn't it, this time? Usually it's Spa. But I believe Zandvoort is better. Or no, I think it is Spa still, but Zandvoort's in a...
I mean, trying to make guesses on the current F1 calendar is never going to end
In theory, this is where it goes. But yeah, Mega Driver is basically any driver, you can triple their points for that race weekend. So that brings into account the Lewis Hamiltons, the Valtteri Bottas, and the Max Verstappens, which are the 3 drivers who are above 20 million. It also means, if you think on the streaks, that the kind of driver who is on streaks and could finish well is going to do even better. You can still Mega Drive those guys below 20 million, but usually it was used on Hamilton or Bottas. Some people did use it on Max, I think, last year, but those were your 3 main candidates that were used last year to triple the points. I believe Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas shared the highest, didn't they?
No, Lewis was the best Mega Driver of the season.
He was. That was at Bahrain, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Before, obviously, he contracted COVID and missed Sakir. So, that is probably you guys you're looking for, and that is a big one to make maybe 30, 40 points on rivals. And if they really get their Mega Driver wrong, it can be a big swing in points. So if you're talking about fantasy standings and where you're going, it can really kind of elevate you up the standings if you do well.
And it doesn't just multiply positive points, it also multiplies minus points.
And that's the same for the turbo driver as well. So if you turbo your driver and they retire and get minus 15, and they're going to get minus 30. If you Mega Drive for that driver, then obviously you're going to get minus 45, which would definitely move you the opposite way in the championship. Last one of the special features is the wild card. And now Stephen's going to talk about the change in the subs, with it moving up to 1 free sub to 3 free subs and a maximum of 6. But like he said, he'll explain that. The wildcard's going to be an interesting one this year, because the wildcard was usually, because of the 1 free sub, you could only really make very small minor changes week to week without getting a massive deficit in terms of a minus 10 hit. It was quite a heavy hit for you to make more than 1 sub in a week. So it was a big risk, because you had to kind of guarantee that your driver you were bringing in was going to make those outscore the driver you replaced them with by 10 points, and then that was just a break even.
Yeah.
So it was pretty difficult in that aspect to justify -10. So the wild card was really important because you could have a complete rejumble of your team, and you basically make as many subs as you want, free transfers. You can play around for that whole week between races, or 2 weeks depending on where it is in the calendar. To make those changes to your team without any cost, and you can really play around. And I think with the wild card, you can technically play the dynamic pricing.
Yes.
Keep swapping out. So
I'll come on to that.
It's a week to kind of go on that, but Stephen will explain dynamic pricing a bit more. So this year with the 3 subs, you have a lot more flexibility in your teams. So I guess it's probably going to be used more in a track that you feel is heavily going to suit maybe if you've gone Team Lewis Hamilton, more track that's going to suit Red Bull, and maybe going back to I don't know, or maybe just one of the midfield teams. It looks like it's going to suit more after seeing practice, something like that. But yes,
maybe
there you go. Wildcard's going to be an interesting one this year with the more subs. It maybe renders the wildcard not as powerful as what it's previously been.
Yes. So as you mentioned, there's the subs bank this year, which gives you 3 free subs, but you can actually make an additional 3 subs every game week. So in total, you can make 6. 3 are free, and the other 3 are -10 for each sub. So that is basically how the subs bank work. You basically touched on it. You can change your team about. Wildcard is basically make 12 changes. Subs bank is 6 every week. 3 are free, 3 are minus. But how the dynamic pricing, which is probably the last key feature to focus on, is drivers. You start with 100 million, but drivers' prices will change throughout the season, and that is based on, I believe, driver performance still plays a part. So if a driver does well over a weekend, their price will go up, and if a driver crashes, their price will go down. But the main fluctuations in drivers and team prices is people subbing them in and subbing them out. So if lots of people sub in, say, Red Bull, their price will shoot up. But if lots of people get rid of Lance Stroll, his price will fall over a particular game week. And that will vary all the way between game week to game week. So it will change in the week, hence dynamic pricing. It will change all the time. So yeah, you can use your subs, and you can even take minus points if you think it's worthy to sub in and sub out drivers and teams to make money to benefit off the dynamic pricing. If you think someone's going to make money, you can quickly sub them in and then sub them out by the time it's next game week if you don't want them in your team. That is how Subsbank can
explain
dynamic pricing works.
I think probably the last one on pricing that we maybe forgot to explain was teams. So Yanni explained this well in the comments on last week's video, is basically how you score, how a team points is scored is the combination of both drivers' scores without bonus points.
Yes.
That is essentially just their base score is added together. So obviously, if one driver finishes and one driver retires, it could be 7 plus minus 15, which then would obviously mean the team gets a minus point as well on that aspect. So that was important. Probably explaining overall the leagues, just to kind of keep you interested in F1 Fantasy. So obviously there is the overall. You're automatically entered into the Global League. You can enter other leagues or create your own leagues, and then you can have codes to share from there. We'll leave again the code to the F1 Fanatics League. I think we've got over 100 people already in the league, which is fantastic. Kind of at the base start. Obviously, we'll keep promoting it to the start, and you can join at any point in the season. Even if you're like, you want to have like a mini league between your friends, the score is automatically told up from there. Although you cannot obviously start a league in after the first race of the season in Bahrain and include the Bahrain round in that once a race is gone.
Yeah,
it just starts from that
it's gone
point.
Forever.
Correct. But at this point, you can join even in like August, you could join in our league
Yes.
with the points that you've scored. Still counts. But also to keep you interested, and obviously JB, one of the guys who watches the channel, he kind of cleaned up in these last year. But there are also mini leagues that mainly take part in the second half of the season, from memory. So if you don't think you're going to score enough points over the course of the season to come out on top, you can very much focus on the game for like a month or a month segment and build your teams around those segments of time. So it will be like the Asia Championship or something like that. I think it's had before, and that's gone, I think included Sochi, Singapore and Suzuka for whatever that was the stretch of it, and European rounds. And from those you gain cool prizes. So that might be signed gear from the teams. It mainly is just kind of signed gear from the teams, but it could be like hats, it could be water bottles, it could be actual driver gloves or stuff like that. I think I'm trying to remember the stuff that JB won. So yeah, very cool prizes for you to win from your heroes, and obviously signed caps, are very expensive and stuff to buy. So winning that and getting your favourite driver signed might be something that kind of interests you through it as well. But I think we covered it.
Yep.
That's it. That is F1 Fantasy in a nutshell.
The explained video of F1 Fantasy.
There you go. If you got any more questions or anything you'd want us to explain further, you can obviously comment down below and we will try our best to answer them. We also do have a lot of kind of keen fantasy players who play, so they may even answer themselves. I know Yanni was going through comments answering useful stuff, JB as well, putting in teams and having discussions in there. It's quite a good place for you just to even put your teams and discuss. And we'll include Rate Your Team Back, but we're going to bring Rate Your Team Back. So that's basically when you comment your team and you go, rate my team, and then me and Stephen will kind of have a look at the team and we'll give it a rating out of Kimmy, because that's our high level scale.
You'll find that out later on.
Correct. Go from there. But yes, that we'll bring that back after testing, which will be the next F1 Fantasy episode. We'll have a break again now. Just people to play around with the games, people to understand the game, and then once we've seen testing, we can get a more accurate perceiving of where teams may be and who might be a good starting lineup going into that first race at Bahrain.
Yes.
Anything else from you, Stephen?
Nope.
Nope, that's it from us. So, if you're new around here or haven't done so already,
you can like, subscribe and ding that bell.
Ding it! And obviously, like we said, you can join our league. The league code will be in below. You just have to copy it into it when you're joining leagues on the F1 Fantasy section of the app or on the website, depending on which you're doing. I might finally this week decide to kind of put our logo and banner into it rather than the kind of generic pictures and make it look a bit more professional. But who knows? We'll see on that front. But yes, that is it for today. So for now, UF1 fans, keep racing.